Our next speaker is Dr. Arthur Frank.
Thank you, Celeste, and it's always an honor to be here with you. It's a privilege that for me goes back many years. I first met Linda in Japan in 2004, had the privilege of meeting Alan before he passed away as well, and have been invited in to be part of the ADAO family since that time. In the session today on progress and challenges from the front line, the front lines are still there in many places around the world. The biggest challenge here in the United States, as you've been hearing already this morning, is getting a recalcitrant Congress to pass the Alan Reinstein Ban Asbestos Now bill. That is our biggest challenge here, and that would go a long way, not to eliminating disease now, because we'll have disease for 50 years into the future because of the long latency for asbestos disease, but it's a start we have to make. ADAO and its members have had successes around the world. We have here the evidence of NGOs being important. We have Fernanda, our colleague from Brazil, with she and her colleagues there, and members of ADAO helped testify in Brazil. Online, I believe we have my friend Guillermo from Colombia, where again the ban got put in place. We even got the Congress to consider closing their mine. There was some discussion of banning it in Colombia, but keeping the mine open, and that got changed. So the importance of NGOs in those countries and elsewhere in the world, in the UK and the Netherlands and Australia, has been really quite important. Besides the challenge of getting the ban bill passed, I agree with Sean Shields, who said that education is the problem. We have miseducation, we have lack of education, and we actively have companies still putting out false science and scare tactics, as we've seen with the chlor-alkali industry. And we have to fight this with education. I was recently talking about being on the front lines. Less than a month ago, I spent some time over in India, where I've probably made 30 trips now, often related to asbestos. And there's now a grassroots effort at some very senior levels in a country that uses 25% of the world's asbestos to stop using it. And so I was meeting with my Indian colleagues and moving this process along, and they're coming up with a game plan that will take on their government, hopefully, to do this. The problem there, of course, is that many of the asbestos cement plants are owned by members of parliament, so when your own pocketbook is affected, that carries an extra special challenge. I've also spent some time. I was on a phone call yesterday, and I have a meeting with a group of families next week in Israel by Zoom, because they've had a school that had asbestos in it that has now been removed, but because of misunderstanding and miseducation about the problems of asbestos and under what circumstances and how much and where, they are loath to send their children back to a school that's been cleaned of its asbestos, where the local measurements are quite low, lower than what we even require here in the United States, but they still don't necessarily want to send their children back. We know that industry keeps fighting. They're taking on our dear colleague Brad Black at the Card Clinic in a very personal way, and the clinic and its activities. More comments about that a little later. We're also a group of us fighting the infiltration into World Health Organization documents that still tout false concepts, and I've run into these in terms of women don't get the disease, chrysotile doesn't cause the disease, the genetics of different populations is different. So the bottom line is we need to pass our ban bill here, but around the world we must continue to fight. We will continue to fight. And as I've said at these meetings in the past, what we have on our side is the truth and the honesty of science. And so I know that at some point we will succeed. So thank you for the opportunity of being with you.
Dr. Frank, thank you so much for your expertise and your always very insightful remarks.